So it's a time of year when people tell you what they think has been the best gear, hardware and software over the last 12 months. I love these videos because I really like to see what sort of gear people think is good. However, I'm going to do something perhaps slightly different. I'm going to tell you my top, it's actually 9 pieces of gear that I have bought. So this isn't necessarily what I think has been the best gear of the last 12 months, but it is what I have bought over the last 12 months. Now, I know I've made videos about how to avoid gas, and I do my best not to buy stuff, but a year's a long time, isn't it? I also have a video, a very dangerous video, which explains how to justify gas. Watch it at your peril, link in description. But none of the products I'm going to mention here were bought using the justification method. They were all things which I wanted. So I'm going to go through them in chronological order as best I can remember from the beginning of the year through to quite recently. I shall tell you why I bought them, what I think was cool about them, and I shall also tell you how much I paid. If I can remember, some I actually can't, but I'll do my best. And towards the end, I have 2 questions for you, so keep watching. So let's start off with a biggie, and this was my New Year's present to myself. It is Omnisphere. Now, you're probably familiar with it. It's a massive synthesizer and quite expensive. But I've been curious about this for a good few years, and I really wanted to see what was in it and if it was as good as people say it is, because they do say it is good. Now, there's no way I can even give an overview of this thing. It is absolutely massive. But even before you get into the sounds, one of the most impressive aspects of it is the user interface. Now, I know looking at it, it looks a little bit dated, but functionally, let me just explain to you what it does. First of all, there is a list of categories. And if you select a category, then you can see that the presets underneath this change, so you can easily sort by category. When you select a preset, you get a preview. And it becomes immediately playable as well. This is a super cool feature. It lets you select the order in which the presets will be displayed. You can select them to be shown from A to Z or from Z to A. You can select them by ratings, which is a sort of souped up favourites thing you can do in Omnisphere. And this, I think, is a shuffle button, so you can select them to appear in random order. There is, of course, an effects section. There are, I think, over 50 different effects that appear in this sort of cool rack format. So I'll just run through a few of the presets just to see what effects they have attached to them. Of course, this will vary from preset to preset, and it is super easy to add your own effects to any of the sounds. There is also, of course, an arpeggiator. I haven't really got into this, but it is very powerful and flexible. This is the main browser, so this shows all the categories and genres and types and all sorts of stuff by which you can select and find presets. But if you select a particular preset and then click on this little sound match button up here, the program will produce a list of sounds it thinks sound like the preset you initially selected. I think this is super useful, super fun, very easy to just find alternative sounds. The last thing I'd like to mention is this hardware integration feature, which links over 60 hardware synthesizers to Omnisphere, so you can effectively control Omnisphere from your hardware synth. You can see some of the options here. It even has a profile for Behringer's DeepMind. And that's even before we get started on the sounds. Now, about this hardware synthesizer integration, one of the things which I found was very strange is that it doesn't support native instruments controllers. I would have thought that, and along with other MIDI controllers, would have been a first stop for integration like this. It's a great shame they don't, but 3 things I want to say about Omnisphere. The price, of course. How much did I pay for it? Well, I bought it from my local friendly music shop for 319 Great British pounds. That seems to be the going rate if you buy it from a retailer in the UK. Now, the strange thing is, the company Spectrasonics does not want you to buy from their website. Here's what they say, and you can see they actually encourage you to buy from a retailer. Now, as they say here, and this is absolutely true, you get a better deal from a retailer than from Spectrasonics themselves. So don't buy direct from the company. The other thing worth noting, very, very worth noting, is the licensing agreement. Now, when you buy a license for Omnisphere, it is yours for eternity, or, whenever. You cannot pass this on or sell it to anyone else. Actually, you can. You can do this once, but you need permission from the company before you can transfer the license. That's sort of quite interesting. But also, the person you transfer the license to cannot transfer that license onto someone else. So each license can only be transferred once and with the company's permission. Now, as I've said in other videos, when I buy a piece of software, I have no intention of reselling it. That's just an understanding I have with myself. The odd exception has been Native Instruments expansions. I have a couple still which are duplicates, and I just haven't gotten round to trying to sell them. Native Instruments make it fairly easy to do that. But not Spectrasonics and Omnisphere. So I think this is a bit strange. Now, I am in the UK. I am absolutely not a lawyer. But this restriction seems to me to be verging on the illegal. Now, I have no idea if it is or not in the UK or anywhere else in the world. If anyone is a lawyer or would like to venture an opinion on this, then please let me know in the comments. I just think it's a very limited and restrictive license. Not that it bothers me, but it's something you should be aware of if you're going to get Omnisphere. Now, the third thing I want to say is that Omnisphere comes with tons of presets, which is why the user interface is so important. I'm not sure if it's 9,000 or 12,000 or 14,000. It comes with tons of the things. And you can also buy what they call sonic extensions. So these are essentially preset packs and seem to be priced relative to the price of Omnisphere. In other words, in my opinion, yes, this will have to come in somewhere, wouldn't it? Overpriced. I haven't bought any. I don't think I would consider buying one. They seem to be around $60 or something like that. Something to think about if you think you might want more than the 10 or 12,000 or whatever presets which come with the program. Phew. That is going to be the longest I'm going to spend on any of these products. You may be pleased to know. But I've only just scratched the surface using Omnisphere, and this is an ongoing process of excitement and discovery. So next in the year, as far as I can remember, I bought Stepic. I did a video about this, so check that out if you want more information. It is a software sequencer, and it sort of looks and behaves a bit like a hardware sequencer, but with masses of other controls. Now, I love hardware sequencers. I think I became fascinated by them probably in the 70s, listening to music by the likes of Tangerine Dream and these pulsing bass lines. So of course you can use hardware sequencers in your music, but Stepic is a software sequencer. It integrates with your DAW. You can use it to control any of your VST instruments or sample libraries or anything else at all. And as I said in my review video, it is like a hardware sequencer on steroids. I had the weird thought that wouldn't it be interesting if someone made a hardware version of this? Now, it would probably fill an entire wall in order to get all the controls in and probably cost about 10 grand. That would be interesting. if you like sequencers, if you like a software sequencer, definitely recommend this. I paid full price for it, 39 euros. The next thing I bought, which I was really very excited about, which I also made a video about, is Recipes number 5, or Orchestration Recipes number 5, to give it its full title. This is a set of tutorial videos, so definitely not a plugin. As someone who enjoys writing music very much, I am absolutely fascinated by all aspects of composition, and the series, the entire series of recipes 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 I find really interesting. It is filled with lots of different compositional ideas and techniques which you can use in your own music. Now, although it is essentially aimed at people who do orchestrations, they are compositional techniques, so you can use these ideas with other forms of music, synthesizers and electronic music, to name but one. And I have already used some of the ideas in the recipes in some of my pieces of music. Now, I jumped on this when it was first launched. It had an introductory offer of $39. I think the normal price is about $49. But even so, if you are interested in compositional techniques, there are lots of demos on the website. Check it out, see if this is the sort of thing you would be interested in. I absolutely love the Recipes series. The next thing I bought was a piece of hardware, Conductor Mark II from Ghost Note Audio. I made a video about this as well, so check that out if you want more information. Essentially, it's a set of 3 faders which generate MIDI CC data, and I use it for controlling expression, modulation, dynamics, things like that. Really, I would say almost essential if you are creating anything with orchestral sounds and orchestral sample libraries, but of course you can also use it with synthesizers. It just lets you put a bit more expression into your music. Now, I know there are alternatives, so if you are interested in a device like this, do check out the competition. I had a bit of a look around before I bought this. It has a long throw faders and I am very happy with it. This next one, it's a bit of a weird one. I got it this year, but I bought it a year or possibly 18 months ago. So it is Synthmaster 3. And what I bought whenever this was I don't know if they called it the everything bundle, but I think I bought Synthmaster 1 and Synthmaster 2. And the deal was, if I bought this, it was on offer as well. The deal was, if I bought this, then I would get Synthmaster 3 when it was released. And to be honest, I totally forgot about it until I got an email saying Synthmaster 3 is here. So what's special about this? Well, I was curious about the Synthmaster range because it seems to fly a little bit under the radar, but they are very interesting, very powerful synthesizers. And with Synthmaster 3, I think they've taken the basic ideas in Synthmaster 2 and just run with it. It is an incredibly powerful synth. I just cannot begin to explain all the features it has. I would urge you to check it out on the website. I will give you a very quick demo of some of the sounds so you can see the interface, but it is super powerful and it creates some amazing sounds. So how much was it? I honestly can't remember. It may have been about £79 or £129. I just don't know. But this is another sense, I'm afraid to say, I really have not got very far into. But I am very impressed so far with what it has and what it can do. So if this interests you, do check it out on the website. The next one, I did make a video about this. It is Arturio's FX Collection 5, and I got an upgrade from FX Collection 3. Now, a little bit like FX Collection 3, which I bought essentially to get one effect. Believe it or not, this is Arturia's pricing. I made videos about this before, but it doesn't make sense to buy one Arturia product. They don't want you to. They want you to spend a bit more money and they'll give you all their gear. So it was a bit like that with the FX collection. So FX5 had a few more special effect type plugins included, and they were what I was primarily interested in. Now, as well as those sort of effects plugins, which again I confess I haven't gone very far into, one of the plugins in the collection, I think this was in collection 3 as well, one of the plugins I really liked was the Roland Space Echo emulation. Now, I had a Roland, it was the 501, it was the biggie back in the 80s. So I think there's a little bit of nostalgia there for me, just playing with this. The interface is just fantastic on the original and, of course, on Arturia's software, because they do brilliant graphics for all their gear. And the upgrade price I paid for this was 83 Great British pounds. Now, I did use the little Arturia Save Money hack, which I made a video about. If you want to buy something from Arturia, and certainly if you live in the UK, you will save a few more pounds using this little hack, link in the description. So not long after buying the FX collection, I was persuaded to buy the V collection 10. I already had V collection 8. I didn't upgrade to V collection 9 or 10 initially because there actually weren't that many instruments in the collection I thought were worth having. And also, as I've said in other videos, I don't think Arturia is treating existing customers very fairly. However, I was persuaded to upgrade to V Collection 10 because Arturia threw in Synth X, which is an emulation of an Elka instrument. Now, I have a really soft spot for Elka synths, including emulations, because that's about all you can get these days. But back in the day, in the 80s and probably the late 70s, I had an Elka Artist, I think it was a 707. It was an electronic organ, and you know, back in the day, this was the top of the range Elka model. It had drawbars. I love the Hammond drawbar sound. It had super strings for the time. It had a piano. It had brass. It was a super organ. Had a lot of fun with it, and I made some recordings with it, which I have to be honest, I will almost certainly not share on this channel, because good though it was at the time, the sound is quite dated. But I have a lot of time for Elka sounds, and it was a shame they sort of disappeared from the synthesizer world. So I was really interested to take a look at this Synth X. And again, I know I keep buying this software, never really get into it very far. But V Collection X has some interesting instruments which I didn't think I'd be really interested in, one of them being Acid V. Now, I know it's sacrilege, but I will say I have never been a massive fan of the Roland TR series. The sound just didn't appeal to me, and I'm not into acid, so I just didn't think this would appeal to me at all. But it actually produces some really cool sounds. Have a quick listen to these. So the upgrade for me from 8 to 10, including Synth X, was, I think, the same upgrade price as you would probably normally get without the inclusion of Synth X. And for me, this was, I think, €169. Now, I can't remember exactly how this converted into pounds with my little hack, which I used, but maybe around 130, something like that. Next on the list, and I've actually made 2 videos about this, it's Musio. This is a collection of 100 sample libraries in the cloud. The benefit and advantage of this is that you only download the individual instruments and articulations that you need or want to use in a particular project. But for $149 for all these sample libraries, for all these sounds, I think that was a pretty good deal, apart from the money I wasted on the subscription initially. You live and learn. Now, the last item on my list, and one which I am possibly the most excited about at the moment anyway, is Dreamtonic's Synthesizer V. So this is a vocal synthesizer. I've already used it on 2 pieces which I've put up on the channel. Fry of the Valkyries and Bark the Doggy Chorus Sings. How festive. But you might like to check those out to get an idea of, well, certainly what I've been doing with them. But there are tons of videos where people have created original songs, and I think covers as well, using the voices which run inside the Synthesizer V engine. Now, a couple of years ago, I made some videos with M-Voice, and this is also a vocal synthesizer, and I shall link to those in the description as well if you want to check them out. Might be interesting to do a comparison. But when I posted these videos, a few people said, well, that's all right, but you really should check out Synthesizer V because it's much better. Now, at the time, this is my recollection, which may or may not be correct. But at the time, I thought, right, I shall check this out. So I tried to check it out. And I remember, if my memory serves, seeing a demonstration or a presentation by the 2 young Japanese guys. The Dreamtonics is a Japanese company based in Tokyo, and it was one of the worst presentations I've seen. What can I say? So the website was in Japanese, again, if memory serves, and it was just hard to navigate. And I thought, I just can't be doing with all this, so I left it alone. But over the last 12 months or so, it has been coming more and more to the fore, because the voice banks do not need to go off to the cloud to get their data, as M-Voice 1 does. So these voice banks are totally self-contained. And another company called Eclipse Sounds has been producing voice banks for Synthesizer V as well. So let me just play you a naked example of one of the voices that is without accompaniment, which I used in Fry of the Valkyries.
Bring me a burger, fill it with cheese, and crispy bacon, and double fries. Deep fry a pizza, add pepperoni, batter some onions, pineapple too.
Now, when I made this, I was just getting to grips with the system. I didn't use any of the special features. The voices, depending on what voice you have, the voices have different characteristics, such as airy, powerful, or breathy, soft, things like that. There are a ton of parameters you can use to just tweak the voice, each word and syllable, to get exactly the sound and the effect that you are after. So a very powerful system which runs entirely on your computer. Now, you can get a free copy of Synthesizer V. I think it's called Synthesizer Basic. It runs on your computer, but it only runs as a standalone version. But you can use it to create voices. You get some free voices with it. So you can create Synthesizer V recordings totally free of charge. If you buy Synthesizer V Pro Studio, whatever it is, the professional version, which costs money. There are more features. You have more control over the individual voices and the parts that you create, and it also runs as a plugin, which is a lot more convenient than having to use a standalone version. And look, you could. So I bought this during a Black Friday sale. I had a rather miserly 20% discount. You know what I think of software and discounts. But I think the Synthesizer V Studio, I think that's about $89, and I think the voices are about $79. So I bought Synthesizer V Studio and One Voice. So after doing all the discounts and all the conversions and the tax and what have you, I got the Studio and One Voice for £115, which I don't think was too bad, all things considered. So that was 9 of my top purchases over the last 12 months. Hopefully I will be able to spend more time getting to grips with some of them. They certainly deserve it. So question 1 for you. What do you think of my picks? Do you have any of the items I've mentioned? If so, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. And question 2. What has been your top favourite purchases over the last 12 months? Let me know what you bought and why you bought it. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate every single viewer. So thank you very much indeed for that. I will see you again in the next video.